Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. To have a very special guest with me today. She is a fashion designer. Please welcome Ysabel Hilado. Hello,
Hel-
Ysabel. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I'm glad we finally made it work.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. But I definitely want to get started by asking, where are you from? Tell us a little about your childhood. Like, did you have any interests like prior to fashion?
Yeah, well, let's see. I grew up born and raised here in Southern California. I'm about like in the suburbs, maybe like 20 minutes from downtown LA. And pretty much I've always been into fashion. Ever since I was a little girl, I would always cut up
Mhm.
my Barbie doll's clothes. In elementary school, I would lay out my clothes for the week and then pick them out, be so excited to wear it to
Mhm.
school. And then I would always like around that time, there were some internet sites, and then I would go on my
Right.
dad's computer, and I would actually
Mhm.
use this site called Polyvore, and you can make different outfit sets, and
Mhm.
then you can mix and match different clothes. So I started to learn about brands. I would make my own outfits. I would take my digital camera, lay it flat, and then post it on that website. So I feel like I've always been on the internet, like, learning about clothes, and then in middle school, I decided to do, like, a little pocket tee business.
Mhm.
I did my first upcycling project, which was, like, an elephant sweater, and then
Mhm.
pretty much in high school, all I did was create outfits for myself during
Mhm.
events like
Right.
homecoming, prom, all
Right.
that fun stuff, and so pretty much fashion has always just been prominent in my life.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to get into this one question because you,
Of
you know,
course.
you're a self-taught fashion designer, but you
Yes.
also went to California State University to major in
I
fashion
do.
design. So, with regards to attending California State, tell us your experience about going there, but also to like, how did it expand your knowledge in regards to fashion design?
Mhm. Yeah, so, when people think of fashion school, they don't really think of going to a state university, but, when I was, like, in that process of choosing a school to go to, fashion schools were just way too expensive and way out of my price range for me, and
Mhm.
then going into college, I knew that I would be paying for it completely on my own, and
Right.
so I decided to think of a way where I can still work, still be close to home, and, still go to school, so that's when I decided to go to Cal State Long Beach.
Mhm.
And, at first it was a little discouraging because it's like, "Oh, I wish I could just go to a fashion school. I wish
Right.
I, would be all like my fashion friends and all that." But then I
Right.
realized that it's okay to go on this path because in this way I can also meet other people who aren't fashion majors. And I
Right.
actually went to a community college first. For 3
Mhm.
years, I did my
Oh,
general
okay.
eds, did a few fashion did a few, like, fashion-focused classes, and
Mhm.
then I transferred over to finally, like, finish off the degree. So it was a really great experience. I feel like, talking to other fashion students, I feel like it's kind of less of a competitive environment, but more of like a everyone
Mhm.
wants to, like, nurture each other, get to know each other, because throughout those years that I was in Cal State, I pretty much
Mhm.
saw the same people every day.
Mhm.
If
Right.
someone was new, like, everyone would always, like, welcome them, try to be friends with them. So
Right.
I really loved the environment that I was in, and, also all the professors were very knowledgeable.
Mhm.
I feel like you can get more, like, one-on-one time. 'Cause when I talk to, like, my friends who are fashion majors, they're like, "Oh, it's so cruel, like, my professor's so mean," but I'm like, "I've never really had that experience." But I
Right.
really enjoyed, my experience there.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to mentors. So, who would you consider to be like your mentors in fashion?
Y When I read that question, I was trying to think, like, who would be my mentor? I honestly don't really have one.
Mhm.
I feel like, um, even just growing up, there weren't a lot of people who loved fashion as much as I
Mhm.
do, but
Right.
there were, maybe, like, some
Mhm.
friends who were, like, fashion bloggers, or they had really cool outfits, so I would look up
Right.
to them.
Exactly.
For the most part, it would honestly just be me. Even to this day, I still can guide myself, but I still look up to other people, maybe, like,
Mhm.
influencers, like, I love what
Right.
they do, I
Mhm.
love the work that they put out.
Right.
Even just the people who post about their outfits, I love how they
Mhm.
together their outfits. So I don't really have, like, a set mentor.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's so understandable.
Yeah,
But yeah, because you easily get influenced by like different, like how you said, influencers, people on social media,
exactly,
and things like that.
exactly.
So yeah, like there's a lot of people, especially on TikTok, that have a lot
Yeah.
of styles in terms of fashion, and people are talking about their fashion experience. So it's really cool to see that.
Exactly, and I feel like, especially with social media, it's easy to communicate with all different types of people, so it's
Right.
nice to learn
Mhm.
from them.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I could totally agree with that. So
Yes.
you describe your fashion as streetwear chic. So why do you consider it as streetwear chic?
So, for a while, I was trying to figure out my design aesthetic, but
Mhm,
something that was always set in stone for me was I really loved streetwear. Growing up, I've
mhm,
always wanted to have growing up, I couldn't afford, like, the latest and greatest stuff, but I always
mhm.
loved looking into streetwear. And,
Right.
um, are
Mhm.
you familiar with Tumblr?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
with Tumblr, I remember I would always reblog, like, different brands like Supreme, The
Right.
Hundred,
Yeah.
um, like, for women's wear brands, Hell's Bells, Dime Piece, and I always thought,
Mhm,
those types of brands were really cool. I loved how laid back they were.
mhm,
Anyone can wear it, but also, adding in, like, the chic part, I've
mhm.
always loved street style shots of people walking down the street, whether it's
Right.
off-duty models, celebrities,
Mhm,
regular people, and I loved how effortlessly cool they looked, how put together, especially, like, those New York, Instagram pages that you see, how
mhm,
they take pictures of people's outfits, they ask them what they're wearing. I really love, how people just put their outfits together
mhm,
and hear what they wear for the day. So
mhm,
that's kinda why I call my design aesthetic streetwear chic, because that's exactly the people I want to design for, someone who can just throw it on, add their own flair, but
mhm,
still want to have that, that really standout piece, something unique to
mhm.
themselves and also, representing me. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. But to add on to that, have you heard of this guy? His name is the People's Gallery on TikTok.
of course.
Yeah, yeah, he goes around and, interviews celebrities and influencers. Like, he say, "Hey, how you doing today?" You
Yes,
know?
and tell me your what's your zodiac sign? Your favorite movie?
Yeah, favorite movie, favorite meal, like, "What you
Yes,
wearing today?" And he's
I
like, "Oh,
love
stop
his
playing with
videos.
him."
He's my favorite TikToker. I love seeing all the different celebrities he has. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, like, I'm like, "How do you run to all these people?"
I don't know. It's not that easy.
Yeah, right. It isn't that easy. Yeah, exactly. But I definitely want to push forward and talk about, you have a passion for upcycling clothing. You did talk about that before,
Yes.
earlier in this interview. But I also want to get into this in regards to, for those who don't know what upcycling is, what is that and what is like the process behind upcycling?
Upcycling, like in the simplest terms, it's pretty much taking an existing garment, maybe it's unworn,
Mhm,
unused, about to be discarded, and you turn it into something completely brand new, give it new life. And so it could be as simple as maybe turning a t-shirt into a crop top, or
mhm,
even as complicated as turning a pair of pants into a jacket.
right.
So upcycling is such a range and it's definitely changed over the years, and
Mhm,
people have transformed such beautiful things into brand new clothing just from using textiles that aren't being used anymore. Because most
mhm,
of the clothes, a lot of clothes, especially at thrift stores, people are donating clothes and sometimes it just ends up getting in the landfills or
mhm,
getting burned. And
right,
so it's really cool that designers nowadays and even just people who are loving or even just people who want to get into sewing and want to learn how to
right.
do that stuff. It's cool that all of these unused textiles are being given a second chance at life pretty much.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's very unique and very cool how people like take like a purse and make it into a top,
Yes,
take like, any type of accessory, like, like how you said, like pants, or like a shirt or like a hat and turn into something else. It's like, wow.
exactly. It's an art form, I would say too,
Right.
because it takes
Hmm.
time to figure out how to like pretty much you have to deconstruct the garment,
Hmm.
you have to figure out how much fabric you have for the project that you wanna do. There's so much that goes into it, a lot of planning too.
Yeah, yeah, right, absolutely. But I seen also in your TikTok videos, you're big into denim. I
Oh,
love denim, I love the,
yes.
acid dye and, design on and things like that. So to you, like what makes denim so unique to you to design?
I I've always been drawn to denim for some reason. I remember my senior year of high school, I made a denim homecoming, a two-piece set. And I'm like, Why denim?" I just realized that
Right.
it's such a versatile fabric. It can go
Mhm.
with many different occasions, many different events. People wear it casually.
Right.
It's also very durable, and also it's a very
Mhm.
classic fabric. You can't go
Right.
wrong with having a denim piece, like your jacket right there. You
Yeah.
could wear that pretty much casually, you could wear it out. It's such a great I don't know, I to me, it's just such a staple fabric, and you can do
Right.
so much of it, and so much with it. And then also,
Mhm.
I noticed ever since I was thrifting when I was younger, the denim sections would always be filled. There's
Right.
so much denim fabric, and I
Mhm.
realized why not start doing something with it?
Mhm.
So I started making high-waisted shorts with studs and paint back then when it was such a huge thing. And then
Right.
now I've made jackets and coats out of
Mhm.
all of this denim, so it's really
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to go ahead and ask, like, also too, if designing a fashion collection, like, what's like your process? What goes into like designing like a fashion collection?
I actually just finished a collection last year when I graduated at Cal State Long Beach.
Mhm.
Um, Pretty much, designing a collection, you first have to think of the concept that you want to execute.
Mhm.
So usually I'll write down things that I'm inspired by, create a mood board,
Mm.
go on sometimes I'll go on Pinterest, but usually I like to kinda think think
Mhm.
for myself before kinda turning to other resources, and then I can start drawing different pictures
Right.
of inspiration and stuff. And
Mhm.
so, once I kinda have that set, I'll then start to think of how many looks do I wanna do? How many pieces do I
Right.
wanna create? What kind of
Mhm.
fabrics? I'll figure out the color
Mhm.
scheme. I'll make sure that I write everything down, and then
Mhm.
once I finalize all that, I'll go fabric shopping. I'll even, like, source for textiles over
Mhm.
there at the thrift store, and then I'll start pattern making, I'll start drawing all of my sketches, and usually when it comes to the collection process, usually, the initial sketch is never what it turns out to be because
Right.
there's a
Exactly.
lot that goes in the process. Maybe I'm in the pattern making stage and I'm like, "Okay, this is not working out for me, maybe I'll switch it up." And so,
Mhm.
the collection process is such a challenging but very fun experience, I would say. And then I
Mhm.
think my favorite part of it all is just seeing it come to life, being
Mhm.
able to be just being able to
Mhm.
what do you how do I say this? Just being immersed in the experience is such
Right.
it it allows me to build more skills for myself, and I
Right.
love also doing the photo shoots, scouting my models, and so
Mhm.
it's just an overall experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really amazing. I would love to really get into like sewing machines. I'm really
Yeah,
curious because like what is like your favorite sewing machines, but also what machines do you recommend for those who are trying to get their footing in fashion?
I always recommend going I always recommend first starting with a home sewing machine. So
Mhm.
something that you might see at Walmart, at Target, or at your local craft store, and those machines tend to be, like, less than maybe $300, even 200. I
Mhm.
even seen some that are like, 75 bucks. And so, you
Mhm.
don't have to choose a machine that's super complicated
Mhm.
because, um I started off with a machine that only did, like, maybe 15 stitches,
Mhm.
and you can still create some beautiful outfits that way. And then
Mhm.
I upgraded to a machine that had, like, maybe 200 stitches, but then I ended up only using maybe 10 of those. So
Right.
it's okay to
Mhm.
have the most basic machine. Brother
Mhm.
and Singer, they're pretty much, well-known sewing machine brands in the
Mhm.
community. Um
Mhm.
and then just in 2020, I upgraded to using an industrial machine. It's a Juki because I work with a lot of heavy duty fabrics, especially denim. I'm starting to work with leather. So having
Mhm.
an industrial machine helped a lot more with navigating those fabrics and being able to complete those projects. But yeah, Brother and Singer machines are definitely great for beginners. The one I
Mhm.
have is an SQ9185, but now I
Mhm.
saw that they made an SQ9285, which is so it's the same machine, I guess they
Right.
just fixed it up. And also,
Mhm.
my Singer has, like, a heavy duty line, there's, like, a bunch of
Mm.
machines in that line, and it doesn't
Okay.
do anything, like, super fancy, but it does what you need to do, and it works with both lightweight
Mhm.
and heavy duty fabrics. So, basically, just choose one that works for you, and also, check secondhand store check secondhand stores, like, we have one here in California called Ecotown, and they actually have, like, a section
Mhm.
full of different electronics. So I would
Right.
recommend checking secondhand stores or even, like, apps like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, because secondhand machines are also just as good as a brand new one too.
Mhm. Yeah, right, absolutely, but I definitely wanna get
Yes.
into this. Another interesting thing about you is that you've competed in a competition called Project Runway Juniors. You
Yes, I
won.
have.
So, I wanna really ask, like, how did that opportunity arise? Like, what was the whole experience, and what did you learn being in that competition?
When, I was, I think I was, like, entering my senior year of high school, so it was that summer between junior and senior year,
Mhm.
and one night, I was just checking my email before bed, just trying to
Mhm.
because I'm subscribed to, like, fashion like, Fit and Fashion Club emails,
Mhm.
and I saw that in one email that they had an audition, like, open call. They're looking for teenage designers, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." At the time, I was still trying to figure out if I wanted to go into the fashion industry as a designer or
Yeah.
as a journalist because I also really love
Mhm.
to write.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was like, "Okay." I already built kind of a portfolio, especially by posting my
Mhm.
monthly sewing projects and all that, so why not just try it? And
Mhm.
so I actually filled up that website that night, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm tired. I'll just get back to it the next day." But what was really weird was that my dad called me during lunch, and he was like,
Oh.
"Oh, a casting director is trying to call you." So I guess that website saw I was filling it out. And so after school, I talked to a casting director. He asked me questions like, "Oh, do you know how to pattern make? Do you know how to use a general sewing machine?" This and that.
Right.
And so I sent in a self-tape, basically showed them all of the different clothes that I've made so far,
Mhm.
and then that's when the audition process really started to take off. I did a lot of I think there was like a 200 questionnaire thing that
Wow.
I had to fill out as well, and then,
That's crazy.
um, luckily, I made it to pretty much the final round of auditions. I had to go to FITM in LA. Um,
Mhm.
I think what was the scary part of that was that there were 2 judges in front of me and then 8 people right
Wow.
next to me, like, just watching, like, the people from I'm pretty sure it's, like, the production company who are also,
Mhm.
like, trying to watch in on the auditions.
Right.
And so I think maybe, like, a month or 2 after that, that's when I got the call that I got it, and then I got flown out to New York with my mom. That was my very first time in New York ever, and
Wow.
and so it was definitely, like it was a brand new environment, but what was really fun about it was that I was also, for the very first time in my life, in the same room as people who also love to do the same thing as me, and we all
Mhm.
come from different backgrounds, we come
Mhm.
all across the US, and
Right.
I was able to meet Tim Gunn, Hannah Davis was, like, the co-host,
Wow.
um met, like, an editor of 17 magazine. There were so many incredible people that I got to meet, and I didn't last that long, only 2 episodes, but it was
Mhm.
just such a fun learning experience being able to work underneath the pressure. You
Mhm.
only had, like, a couple days to work on something, and then
Mhm.
you had to be TV ready every day. Then you
Mhm.
had to do these, you had to, like, what do you call that? Like, debrief after this entire day that you did. So it was such a unique experience that I don't think a lot of people would ever get to see behind the scenes, so that's why I really love talking about it too,
Mhm.
because, it gives people an insight. And I feel like I definitely grew from that, and that's what also made me realize that
Mhm.
I can be a fashion designer, because I'm also representing my Filipino community as well.
Right.
Because growing up, I didn't see a lot of Filipinos who are fashion
Mhm.
designers doing what I do now, so,
Right.
Project Runway was such a I'm very thankful for that time.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I used to watch Project Runway, and I love Tim Gunn, like, Tim
Oh,
Gunn, the
he's
way he dresses is amazing.
He's amazing, and then my mom even loved him too, 'cause he just walks in, he greets all the parents, and then he's so
Mhm.
sweet. I have a, I think when I got eliminated, he also gave me a book and he signed it. It's so cute. It's somewhere in
Wow.
my sewing room, but he's such a great person.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I
Mm.
want to get into fast fashion really quickly.
Yes.
So, fast fashion has been popular and common for the past few years.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
people are getting more into sustainability, especially with slow fashion as well, to help slow down the overproduction of wasted, clothes being overflowed in landfills. And one of the things I really liked of what you talked about, specifically in Pacific Daily News,
Mhm.
is about fashion being one of the biggest polluters in the world. So I
Yes.
definitely want to really ask, like, could you expand your perspective of the fashion industry just in regards to being one of the biggest polluters in the world? But also, what would be the solution in remedying, pollution regarding to fashion, especially with fast fashion is concerned?
Yes. So what's really cool is that I feel like the fashion industry is moving towards a more sustainable direction,
Hmm.
especially in just the last couple years. We see people who are starting to pay attention to the effects of fast fashion. There's a lot of movements, the slow fashion movement, where people are getting involved and realizing that we shouldn't be spending all of our money on Shein. We should be
Right.
going to these secondhand stores and
Hmm.
reusing the clothes that we don't have, altering them, upcycling them, doing all that.
Right.
And
Hmm.
so because, fast fashion is so prominent, a lot of that is rooted in, what do you call it? Sorry, I'm trying to think of the word.
Go ahead, take
It's
your time.
in, like, overconsumption,
Right.
especially
Overconsumption. Yeah.
with social media nowadays, we see people doing these Shein hauls,
Hmm.
$1,000 Shein hauls, $5,000, and so
Wow.
because of how cheap it is, there's also people that suffer behind it, which is the garment
Mhm.
workers in the garment industry.
Exactly. Hmm.
A really good documentary that I recommend for everyone is A True Cost because
I've seen that.
it's an amazing documentary that really showcases how it is overseas, what clothing production like, the true side of clothing production pretty much,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
how, like, garment dyes go in the water system of these
Hmm.
countries. There's even, like, a building collapse um, because these people who manage these buildings don't care about the garment workers enough to put them in a decent spot to work in,
Right.
and these garment workers are getting paid pennies, and
Right.
so
Mhm.
that's why fast fashion is just not a great thing to support, but also
Exactly.
you have to realize, some people in other places, they don't have access to secondhand stores or thrift stores, so they might have to turn into fast fashion to
Mhm.
get clothes that they want, especially,
Right.
like, with sizing and all that, but what's important is to realize that there needs to be a balance between everything, and you don't always have to consume fast fashion. You don't always have to buy brand new. You can always just buy at the thrift store. You can
Right.
always do
Mhm.
hand-me-downs. And so I think it's really great that we're pushing towards that direction.
Yeah, it's really amazing because, like, and I've seen the documentary as well, like how I said before, and
Yes.
it's very informative, and it really tells you about the dark side of fast fashion. And we live in a time, we live in a world, and especially within the industry regarding greed. It's about making money. You
Yes.
know what I mean? And I definitely believe that, it should be a concern because, we got to care about humanity too. Like these people are
Exactly.
working tireless to build these garments or these shirts and things like that.
Exactly.
So and all this stuff, fast fashion is mass production, it's mass produced,
Mhm. Yep.
and it's overconsumption.
And then the crazy thing is about a lot of these fashion companies like H&M, Forever 21, Zara, they're now starting to do this thing called greenwashing, where they
Mhm.
also have these other lines that they like to market as it's 100%, like, what do you call it? It's like 100% made with what do you call it? I'm trying to think. They do specific type of branding where they
Mhm.
say it's ethically made. This is
Yeah,
made
yeah,
with
yeah. Mhm.
recyclable materials, but it's still made in the same place. They're just doing
Right.
different marketing just to get to the people who are trying to be sustainable. And
Mhm.
so people really have to watch out about that as well. And another website I
Mhm.
really like to look on as I really love, goodonyou.eco, and then you
Mhm.
can type in a brand name, and then it'll pretty much break down the brand, if it's ethical, if it's sustainable, what they've done
Mm.
about it. maybe if there's any controversies behind that brand, especially when it comes
Mm,
to sustainability. And that's a great site to also look up, and also just to do research on a brand that you're supporting, especially
mm,
if you're doing this whole greenwashing.
mm. Wow, that's very interesting. What was the
Yeah,
site again?
good on you.
Good on you. Okay, I'll definitely look that up, most
Yes,
definitely.
it's a great way to start to look into the brands that you support, for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. That's very, very
Yep.
informative. But I wanna transition and get into the business end of fashion. So, for someone who's being in the fashion industry, who's getting into the fashion industry, how does one become successful in the industry, especially financially?
It's hard. That's the one thing about the fashion industry. A lot of
Mhm,
it it's really rough at the beginning. So
mhm.
personally for me, what I've done, I've always worked the retail job ever
Right.
since I was in high school. I've always been saving my money, making sure that I have enough to do whatever I want, and I worked, like, various retail jobs up until 2020,
Mhm.
before the pandemic pretty much, and I lost my job right when, everything was shutting down,
Right.
and so one thing I always recommend to people is to kinda, it sounds like cliche, but don't quit your day job until you're sure that you can definitely sustain yourself without it.
Right.
And
Mhm.
luckily, around that time, I already saved up a lot of money from years of working and
Mhm.
saving. And so I was able that's when I realized I was able to pursue what I wanted to do, to go into the fashion industry as a fashion
Right.
designer and doing all of this content creation as well.
Mhm.
And you always have to have a plan.
Right.
And
Mhm.
I always recommend to write everything down, document your goals. What's your yearly goal?
Right.
What's your quarterly goal? Where do
Mhm.
you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? Because it's really
Mhm.
important. As tedious as it
Absolutely.
is, it's nice
Mhm.
to have something to look back on and to keep you on track. And it's okay
Mhm.
if you don't stay on those goals, but as long as you're
Right.
somewhat, like, going into some direction, it's great to write everything down. And
Absolutely.
also, I think it's, important to also kinda document your experience,
Right.
just also,
Mhm.
like, going off the last point, just to, like,
Mhm.
see how far you're going and what you can do to maybe, like, tweak your goals to make sure you get to where you wanna be.
Mhm.
And so I've been documenting my fashion journey ever since I was 13, and until now,
Mm.
and I don't plan on stopping because it's really cool to see the progress in between all that. And I think as we're working towards our goals and stuff, it's easy to get caught up and forget, like, why you started doing this in the first place.
Right.
So as you're
Mhm.
building a business, as you're building a brand, always kinda, like, just remember where you came from and why you're doing what you do.
Mm.
And
Exactly.
something that also helped me a lot was, you don't have to do everything yourself. You can
Mhm.
always outsource photography, or,
Mhm.
have someone maybe, let's see, maybe help you manage your emails, or maybe help you just,
Mhm.
I don't know, because, something that, took me a while to come around was to actually reach out and get help from the
Mhm.
resources that I did have, because as
Mhm.
a business owner and as a designer, you feel like you have to do everything yourself when you
Right.
really don't have to. There's people
Mhm.
that you can turn to. And, like, going off that, it's also important to invest in yourself as well. Try to get those materials that will help you in the long run. Maybe your
Mhm.
machine is broken and you keep on trying to fix it. Maybe it's time for a new machine.
Right, exactly.
Maybe, like, your scissors aren't working properly. Well, maybe you gotta get something new. So, you have to
Mhm.
invest in yourself, and that also
Mhm.
helps with your time, and it helps
Right.
with the quality of your work.
Mhm.
So, trying to build something up, it's difficult, but you
Mhm.
have to, like, just to recap, you gotta write down your goals, you gotta just keep moving forward and don't get discouraged.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I could totally agree with that. But also too, like speaking of like with technology, you know, AI is getting, out more and more and more. But
Yes,
also too, like, people are getting into AI fashion, especially like AR, augmented reality, virtual
yes.
reality type of fashion, metaverse fashion. So what is your take just in regards to also with like, not only that, but also technology becoming more and more advanced for fashion? Like what's your take on the advancement of technology?
I think it's crazy. I think, there's this website called Clo 3D,
Mhm.
and you can pretty much do the pattern making and see it on a model and the movement of the clothes on an avatar. And
Wow.
I think that's beautiful because sometimes um, I feel like it's easier to kind of visualize what you're
Mhm.
trying to create. And, I
Exactly.
think some people are not really for the technology, but I think it's a great thing for the fashion community because
Right.
it also could help lessen the waste. It could be a more sustainable option for a lot of things.
Right.
And um, there's even like, what do you call it? There's even I remember I received this email to try out like the metaverse and to create clothes for avatars. And it's so
Mhm.
interesting to see how technology is really affecting the fashion community. But also,
Mhm.
there's a lot of really cool advances when it comes to creating clothing. Like, there's laser printers,
Right.
there's lasers that can also put things on clothing.
Mhm.
There's also different ways that there's also like
Yeah, 3D printers, you know?
yeah, 3D printers, there's also, I'm trying to think. There's like it there's these cutters that can cut so many clothes at once. There's
Like a
so
laser cutter?
yes, something like that.
Mhm.
But it's definitely a crazy I don't know, it's so weird to see.
Yeah, yeah. I find it very interesting because, like, we live in a time now where, technology is getting more and more advanced. And of course,
Yes.
NFTs are coming out,
Yes.
also with like,
NFT clothing too.
yeah.
If you're familiar with designer Kim Shui, I believe in one of her
Mhm.
last collections, she was also doing this NFT thing where,
Mhm.
I think you can design something, send it in,
Mhm.
and then she'll put it on a T-shirt, and then it'll be an NFT. It's
Wow.
it's kind of crazy how designers are trying to use technology to their advantage.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's very, very cool because also too, bouncing off of that or to expand off of that, there's people that are, fashion designers, but just like for the metaverse, like there's this platform called DressX
Ooh,
where you can, look at, different clothes, it's like, VR, AR type
yes,
of metaverse fashion where you can wear it, so you have like an app and the garment will be on you and things like that. So
yeah.
that's what I find very, very cool. I did an interview with somebody who has a metaverse fashion brand. Her
Ooh.
name is, Amina Minty. I'll send you the
Oh,
interview with
yeah, I'm
her,
definitely gonna have to
you
listen to
know,
that.
and her brand is called Crown Studio, and she does, like, these hoodies, these
Okay.
metaverse fashion hoodies, and they're really, really cool. So,
So
I just love
how does it work? So does it go on, like, different avatars or, like
more so just like with, AR, so pretty much augmented reality. So, say if
oh.
you're in public somewhere,
Yeah, see,
you
so this is an industry I'm not too familiar with, but, like, I read different articles on it, and I'm like, "This
mhm.
is crazy."
Yeah, yeah. So I just like how where the fashion industry is getting more and more advanced and revolutionizing the industry in
Yeah.
different ways, especially involving sustainability. So
Yes.
it's not just dealing with recycled things or upcycling things, but
Yeah.
also digital. You can do
Yes.
digital.
And, with, the Oculus, the Oculus
Mhm.
that you wear on your head, um,
Right.
I remember I've used my friends, and I saw that you can even draw on it.
Wow.
So, there's so many different things that you can do, so I'm excited to see what happens in the next 10 years, especially.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely agreed. Now, I definitely want to ask like this one question. If you had a top five in regards to your favorite fashion designers, who would they be and why?
Oh, this is so hard. This is so hard to ask any designer, but I think off the top of my head, Glenn Martens,
Mhm.
he does Y Project, he's doing Diesel right now, he had a
Mhm.
collab with JPG, and
Mhm.
so Glenn Martens is a mastermind, especially when it comes to denim. I
Mhm.
discovered him I even did, like, a little research paper on him in college.
Really?
I just love his denim design. It's so innovative. It's such a fresh take on denim and what it could be, and so
Mhm.
I closely follow his work, and, I also really love Dion Lee. Um, I really love all the structured garments, and he
Mhm.
also does a lot of denim as well,
Mhm.
and let's see, who else do I really love? I also love, let's see, Loewe, because J.W. Anderson is such a great creative director, a great designer, so many
Mhm.
fun pieces. I have like the inflatable glasses, probably one of my favorite pieces, and also I hope to probably gain actually a piece one day, of like a dress or maybe one of his pants that he's designed. I
Right.
also love Sakai.
Mhm.
Sakai is also one of my favorite brands. I love
Mhm.
how they have a lot of deconstructed pieces,
Mhm.
um,
Right.
deconstructed pieces, and how I
Mhm.
just really love how she reimagines just like what's that one fabric? Or she really reimagines bomber jackets too in such a
Right.
fun way by combining different materials. And kind of like
Mhm.
Sakai, I also really love Anderson Bell because
Mhm.
Anderson Bell also likes to incorporate different fabrics and textures and play around with prints. So
Right.
I think that was five, five that I could think of. But those are
Yeah.
some of my favorite designers right now.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. What was the other designer with, I think it was a JW Anderson. What was the other
Yes.
one?
Um, and J.W. Anderson.
It's like with the fluffy glasses you were saying?
Oh, Loewe.
Yeah, Loewe.
Yes, 'cause he
Yeah,
also
yeah.
designs for Loewe too, and so I love everything that he does.
Yeah, yeah, that's really, really cool. Yeah, the other designs are like Alexander McQueen, you
Oh,
know, I seen like his recent collection, the recent collection, it's really,
yes,
really cool.
I think I saw some stuff on Twitter about it.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, also, the guy who does Diesel, with the Y project, I like the
Yes.
denim, especially the denim boots, those were fire.
Oh my gosh, yes. I love it so much, and I also love how a lot of these designers that I look up to, I can also just buy their pieces secondhand too.
Mhm.
Maybe I can
Right.
wait a little bit for some of their pieces to go on sale, and, especially with the secondhand community, it's easier to attain, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, right, most definitely. There's another design that I really like, I recently ran into, his name is Kevin Germanet,
Ooh,
and he does a lot of, like, cool, like, colorful garments, I think he used, like, recycled materials, beads, embroidery,
ooh.
his stuff is really
Mm,
amazing.
okay, you have to send me that because I love seeing, the different mediums that people work with when it comes
Mhm.
to upcycling.
Yeah, yeah, also too, I love, like, Ellie Saab, Zahara Murad, like, their
Ooh,
stuff is
yes,
really, really cool.
of course. Those are
Mhm,
great designers, honestly.
mhm, yeah, absolutely, and also Schiaparelli too, I seen Schiaparelli's
Oh,
collection,
art.
amazing.
I think it's art. At this
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the work is already in museums, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, right, exactly, most definitely. Like, their collection is absolutely amazing. There was nothing bad I could say about that
Oh,
collection at all.
oh, not at all. I think even if you're not into fashion, you could appreciate what they do.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing, and that's what I really like about fashion. It's just it's more getting more creative and art formed, you know what I mean, than how it was back then. Like very, very couture, very structured, very
Exactly.
playful. I like how people are playing with shape, so that's really, really cool to see.
Yes, shape, proportion, and I feel like it's just expressive. I always
Mhm.
say that fashion is a nonverbal form of self-expression because,
Mhm.
what you see on someone really gives you a take of who they are.
Right.
Like your denim jacket, for example, like, I could tell you have a fun personality and
Mhm.
you love to express yourself through what you wear, so
Mhm.
that's why I just love clothes.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the exact same way, but I definitely wanna go ahead and ask, like, when you're not upcycling and designing clothes, what other hobbies do you enjoy doing, like, outside of, designing?
I really love thrifting. I mean, I know it's still with clothes and
Right,
stuff, but
right.
I really love finding secondhand clothing, especially when it comes to
Mhm.
my personal style,
Right.
because without thrifting, I don't know how I would've even found my personal style at all,
Mhm.
and, what's that? I like to hang out with my friends, hang out with my family, my boyfriend, I just got a Disney pass. I love going to
Wow.
Disney. I only live, like, 15 minutes away,
Wow.
so it's
From
just
Disneyland?
yes, yeah, and
Wow.
people think it's super expensive, but it's only 20 bucks a month, which is not that
Wow.
bad, not that bad at all. I also love
That's
trying new
pricey.
food, new eateries, just hanging out, chilling, and
Mhm.
so, also just going to art museums, it's really cool to be in that environment just to get inspired and see how all of these artists create their work. What else
Mhm.
do I like to do? I don't know, just also maybe going to different events, maybe friends events. I have a lot of
Mhm.
friends in LA fashion and just the art community in general. I love
Right.
supporting them with whatever they do. Like just last week, I
Mhm.
went to like a friend's music event. So yeah, there's so many things you could do in LA, and I try to go into all of these different spaces.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I've never been to LA before, but I would love to go.
You have to. You have to. There's a lot of really great food, great
Mhm.
museums, and clothes as well. Thrifting, shopping.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds really, really cool. But I definitely wanna go ahead and really ask, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years, I really hope to already have my brand established. That's kind of what I'm working towards because
Mhm.
right now, I've always told myself in the last couple years, I just wanna build a name for myself right now on social
Right.
media,
Mhm.
gain an audience, a following, create this community, and I feel like
Mhm.
I've been able to do that. But
Right.
then now these next couple years, it's now time to really start, like, forming this brand, getting my
Mhm.
pieces out there. So starting this year, I hope to finally do it and finally carve out the time for that. At the end of last year, I was already starting it, but
Mhm.
now it's really time to get it going. And especially I'm turning 25 this year, so now's the time to really do it.
Mhm.
And I also want to make it a point to make fashion education a lot more accessible
Mhm.
because at first, growing up, it was a little hard to find sewing classes, hard to
Mhm.
find, people to talk to. And so I want to maybe have more sewing classes, maybe even create a space where people can have machines there ready for them to sew a project that they want to do. Maybe
Mhm.
if they need to like insert maybe grommets in their clothes or
Right,
they
right.
need some trimming for a different project, like, they
Mhm.
can go to this space and actually have something available to them. And,
Mhm.
let's see, I also have random things. I even wanna create, like, maybe, like, a sewing supply line of different items that you could use, and, I really just wanna do whatever I can in fashion, make my
Mhm.
impact in things that I love, you know?
Yeah, right, exactly. Most definitely. But last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people support you and your work?
Yeah, you can find me at Ysabel Hilado on pretty much anything on Instagram, TikTok. Hopefully, I'll start back my YouTube channel soon. I also have my website, isabelhilado.com. And yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
All right, that's really, really cool. Thank you so much, Isabel, for jumping onto the show. Your work is
Yes, of
absolutely
course.
cool. I
Thank you
fell in
so
love with your denim pieces. I was like, yo, you
thank you
really good at denim. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I really enjoyed this conversation. Just thank you so much. And
thank
really sharing your
you.
story and your experiences. This was a fun conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time talking to you, and you had amazing questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Be sure to check out my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye bye.